Hello, book babes. I'm Aubrey.
And I'm Peyton.
And today we are going to be tier ranking the top 50 bookish tropes.
Yes, so join us with a cup of coffee as we dive between these paper sheets. Let's do this. Alrighty, welcome back to the Hardcover Podcast. We have such an exciting one for you today, and Aubrey is going to get us started and explain what we've got going on.
Yes, so going through these top 50 bookish tropes, we are going to rank them into 7 different categories. Starting with our S tier, our top of the line, we have inject into my veins. I want to keep this forever. Yes. Next up, we have 5 stars for sure. This is one that we love. This is our girl. Then we have ate that shit right up. Ate that shit right up. It might not be the most talented girl, but she is entertaining. Next, we have neutral. This is our base. It's not changing how I perceive this book. Next up, moving a little bit lower, we have our haven't read, but sounds fine. It's fine. And then we have not for me. This is the girls we're not here for. It kind of turned you off a little bit. Before we have our absolute bottom, icky.
Icky.
This is the one that, like, you read it and you get to it and you say, now you're dropping a star.
Yeah, yes. I was like, icky is, all right, now you automatically can never be 5 stars.
Yeah.
Probably not even 4.
Yeah, because if that trope's in the book, what's the likelihood that the rest of it is also just trash?
Yeah.
Jumping in now that we have our categories, the first one up, we have found family. This is like the tried and true in the book community. This one I feel like spans all genres. Everyone's got a little misfits coming together. Found family moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, found family's great. I'll have to say it's definitely like 5 stars for sure, or ate that shit right up.
Yeah.
I think about even my favorite fantasy novels because I love putting tropes in terms of like my favorite genre, which is fantasy. And so I feel like when there's found family in a fantasy book, I'm like, wow, like I'm invested in every single one of your plot lines. If it's a good book.
And it works so well with like a large cast of characters when we have that like third POV. So, found family, let's do 5 stars for sure. I think it's good, and I think it's a hard one to like mess up.
Yeah.
Next, we have enemies to lovers, which is a fan favorite, but I have a little bit of a hot take.
Oh.
I think a lot of the times enemies to lovers is done wrong. I think most of the time when you are reading an enemies to lovers, they're not enemies. They're almost never truly enemies. It's either insta love or they're just like kind of like like rivals. Like they're just like, oh, you're my enemy, but it's a contemporary romance. Like you're not fucking enemies.
Books have lost stars for me because they are marketed as enemies to lovers, and then you're looking for that deep hatred and you never come across it.
No.
Like enemies to lovers at its core, it does like inject in my veins. There's nothing better than like a sexy, hot, and like true, like it takes the whole book for them, like the tension, right?
A slow burn, tension-filled enemies to lovers.
That's amazing. But you know, it's like the market is so oversaturated with these enemies to lovers stories, and it's like, oh, he hurt me in the 7th grade. It's like, no, you're just rivals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I definitely think this is like a 5 stars for sure.
Okay.
I ate that shit right up moment. Maybe eat that shit right up.
That's where I was thinking, because I think most of the time, like especially in the romantasy genre, which we read all of the time, they're always enemies to lovers, but it's always just that like, yeah, like I'm eating it up. Like I've seen this plot before, I'm doing it again. It's hardly ever. I have as the title card picture, Carden and Jude. Yeah. They are true enemies to lovers. They're enemies to lovers where in book 1, you're like, there's no fucking way these two characters are getting together. He's so fucking mean. And it's just not done like that.
I can think of maybe 4 book series, if that, of true enemies to lovers. And so, when it happens, I eat that shit right up. But I'm so used to this trope that it's nothing that's so special to me.
All right, next up, we have our wise old mentor. This is definitely like a fantasy one. I can't even think of like a different genre where you have that like mentoring character. Because in my head, it's like, okay, you're prepping me for battle. You're prepping me for my magical powers.
Yeah,
And
so
I
I
chose
love when the love
Gandalf.
interest is, like, the mentor, like, the
Yeah.
teaches them. I'm trying to think of other than, like, whimsical fantasy, I'm trying to think, because okay, this is the thing. When
Uh-huh.
there's the wise old mentor, I get more attached to the mentor in the book. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If anyone
Mhm.
read I this is the vibe, I'm not saying this is the trope, but
Okay.
in One Dark Window, the monster in Elsbeth's head, it
Yeah.
feels like that feeling of like, wow, you are kind of guiding her through life. That's a little bit of a fucked up story and like in terms, but
But the
I'm
best way is
so
when you
attached
subvert
to
it.
the mentorship that the monster offers Elsbeth that I'm like really protective. I definitely feel neutral about this
I
trope.
agree. I agree. I feel like also most of the time the wise old mentor has two like fates. They either die to further the hero's plot or they betray the hero. Like that's it.
That's
That
so
those are the two
oh
options.
my gosh. And I'm thinking if anyone read the From Blood and Ash series, there's
Uh-huh.
the victors who are true wise mentors, and there's someone else in that series who serves as a wise mentor and actually betrays characters in that book. So,
Yep.
anyways, I feel pretty neutral about it though.
I agree. Okay, next up we have the training montage. The level up, beefing up arc for our characters.
In fantasy, this is so necessary because a lot of times you see this, it's usually a woman main character who has no
Mhm.
skill, and then a chapter later, it's like, where'd you get all the skill? And that's why I love when they start
Yes.
off being like, in the shadows, growing up, I wielded a knife, and that's where their skill comes from. Now, with that being said, I don't give two shits about these. And so I would say not for me, but
Yeah.
necessary.
But necessary. It's like a caveat of like it's like the vegetables in the fantasy book where if you don't give it to me, I'm not going to believe that this person is actually worth shit.
It's like
But
battle scenes. It's like
yeah. I will say like Mistborn did the training montage like very well. Like I can think of books where it was interesting, but I agree. I think most of the time it's just either forgotten and should be there or it's there but it's not like the juice.
I can think of one exception, and it's if
Mhm.
anyone, I'm sure that everyone's read by now, A Court of Silver Flames. There's a
Yeah.
montage where all these women come together and they train, and like that was really awesome to read about. But other than that, like I don't fucking care. So I'd just say not for
Okay.
me, but not in like a mean way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like it's fine. It's there, but
Yeah.
it's not why I'm reading the book. Okay, next up, we have Resurrection. While we are on the topic of Miss SJM, she is the guiltiest party of this trope.
It feels so good when a beloved character comes back because the grief and heartache that you feel as an emotional reader
Uh-huh.
feels like not as hard. But I have to say, there are books I read growing up that there were no resurrections, and man, do they hit hard. Like, when you go through something traumatic and years later you're like, wow, that really shaped me as a human being. But instead, no, if she's like, no, they come back, don't worry. It's like, it's not. So I would say not for me, honestly.
I feel like it's icky. I get
Really?
so listen, very, very rarely is it done right. I think resurrection in the form of transformation, so we're talking becomes a different creature, like becomes a vampire. That's fine because like you knew that was at the premise, you knew that was coming. But when
Okay.
it's straight bringing them back, which Miss SJM does all the fucking time,
Yep, I
I
know exactly what you mean, and I agree.
you've taken away all stakes to this story.
You're right, and the
If
resurrections I
none of
do
your
like
characters
is
can
that, like,
die,
the stakes just changed for that one character now
yeah.
because they are now a vampire or a monster of some kind, like,
Mhm.
they're still around, they are different, and now they have a completely different character arc, whereas they just died and came back to life, like, nothing really changes.
No. And I also feel like in other works where maybe it doesn't happen often, it sometimes cheapens the narrative. Take, for example, I watched the TV show Arrow, and now I haven't seen all the seasons, but in the show, everything is very like gritty, grim, dark. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, someone who's like very important to the main character, or maybe the main character, it's been a bit, but someone very important dies, and they go on this whole season long arc to bring this character back. So at least they're working for it. But you know what that means? That means every other bitch who died before or after you just like isn't loved enough to be
I
brought
know.
back,
I
or
definitely
like
yeah.
when they come back and they're corrupted, like half zombie, or like they're missing part of their soul and they're not like I just hate it. I hate it. It's again, transformation I like, resurrection I hate.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. That is
I've
icky.
convinced you. I have
And they were
sunk
different.
you down to icky.
Well, I already had yeah, not for me, so, like, it does not take
Yeah.
more convincing. But the next one I feel very strongly about.
Yes. Forced proximity. This
This
one
is
is
where, like,
for
the enemies to lovers can really flourish.
yes, and it works so well in every genre. Like Emily Henry, a romance author, is like the queen of this because it makes the tension so good because they're stuck together.
Absolutely. So this is, like, injected in my
Easy.
veins for me. I feel very
Absolutely.
strong. I feel very strong about force. Like, if I'm reading any book and 2 characters are alone stuck together, does not matter the genre, I'm like, "This is gonna be a good fucking chapter."
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Easy. I love forced proximity. Okay, next up we have genius character. How we
Um,
feel?
Genius character. I can think of a couple characters. I'm like, oh yeah, they're
Okay.
great. I feel pretty neutral about a genius character.
Yeah, I do too. I'd feel more strongly a lot of my examples that I'm trying to think of, like I have Hermione for the title card, or even like Belle and stuff like I'm thinking of bookish characters more so than that like genius character. Like there's a character from Shadow and the Bone that's just really, really smart. I'm like,
It's
whatever.
always the person like the athletic, like combat-y ones are out, and it's always the one like in the van, like with the computers. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? They are
yeah.
necessary to that like found family group. There's always the smart
Mhm.
one. But I just feel very neutral about it.
Yeah,
I don't
I
love it and
agree.
I don't hate it. I'm just like really cool with it. You know what I mean?
It's just there. It's just there. It's a thing. It's like any other personality. I will say, as we go through these, some of these tropes are really walking the line, the definition of what trope is. I think that in the past 5 years or so, we've really just like umbrellified the word trope because trope is now like a character archetype versus like a plot versus like a
Yeah.
relationship type. Like
Things
we're just
found in
gonna get
books.
everything. We're just getting everything that routinely shows up in a book.
I love it.
Next up, we have bodyguard romance. I think I've read only 2 books with this trope. From Blood and Ash and A Fate Inked in Blood.
The thing that the bodyguard romance does offer is forced proximity.
Yes.
I'm going to say this about bodyguard romances.
Mhm.
As long as the character isn't completely belittling,
Yes.
I would say I eat that shit up. I just do because it's
Yeah.
adjacent to that forced proximity.
Mhm.
I haven't read enough to have a strong opinion. Um, but
Yeah.
I would put it in that middle to just a little higher section just because when From Blood and Ash was truly a bodyguard romance, that's when I really liked
Mhm.
the series. It was when it
Yeah.
broke away from that I didn't.
Mhm. And I think I like it more when it sits in the realm of the character who's being guarded has a lot of like very positive characteristics, and just being that like fighter isn't one of them. Like, and not everyone needs to be the fighter. And I think what toes the line for me is when the person being guarded starts also being the fighter. And then the bodyguard person's training, like, so that's cute. But then when they start to get to the balance of like they're equal or anything past that, I was like, okay, well, now you just like took away kind of the point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Eat that shit up. Let's move on. We have a line of dialogue that is said in the best kind of going on this like enemies to lovers fantasy bodyguard. Who did this to you? How you feel?
Okay. Well, it makes me kind of giddy. Okay, this phrase to me is an interesting one because
Yeah.
it can be really cringy, but so sexy if used right. Because it shows
Yes.
that they care. And so therefore I would say I eat that shit up.
Yeah, I agree. I think it sits in that realm of like, actually, I was looking up examples of this because you get like the vibe of who did this to you, but I wanted to know like where in literature has that exact line been delivered? And you know what? It was almost all like dark, romantic-y, indie Amazon Kindle books.
And hence the cringiness. It's like, who did
Yeah.
this to you? It's like,
Yeah.
all right.
Shut up. Oh, and like I hate when it says it by like someone who's like not shit. Like that. Like
Yeah.
why the fuck do you care? Like what are you gonna
Yeah.
do? You're really gonna go beat them up? Put it in a contemporary romance. I saw it like it was like Love Hypothesis or something like that. Like a freaking Allie Hazelwood book. I'm not sure if it was that exact one, but something like
Yeah.
that. And they're like, who did this to you is in there. And I was like, am I losing my mind? What is the professor gonna do about it?
Yeah, like what are
Actually.
you gonna do? Pour some chemicals on someone? Like, I don't know. What the fuck?
Okay, next up is one that I want to love, and I feel like because it gives you forced proximity, it would be injected into my veins if I've read any fucking books that included it, and that is Marriage of Convenience.
I have read Marriage of Convenience books, and I will say
Outlander?
yes. And well, I guess this wouldn't maybe be part of it, but I was gonna say A Fate Inked by Blood.
Well, she doesn't marry the guy that
I
she's
know, but they are by each other for that reason. I feel like I've read more. Like, what the fuck is going on?
I know. Well, I feel like this is such like a historical fiction girly one or
Outlander
like
slayed with it,
period
bro.
romance. And I feel like you did a lot of those back in the day.
Outlander slayed this, but I will have to
Yeah.
say, it's just not for me, probably. So let's
Okay.
put it in the haven't read but sounds fine because
Okay.
it's not like we have a lot to go off of to back up this opinion.
Yeah. All right. Next up is the one, the only. My best friend's brother is the one for me. I did put Victoria Justice as the title card
As
image
you
for this
should.
one. As yes, all of us who grew up watching Victorious, they know. They know.
It was a good childhood.
That said, outside of Disney TV shows,
other
have
than
we
Disney
ever read
TV
this?
No.
Like we're not very heavy on the contemporary romance train, and I think that might be skewing our data.
I can think maybe a TJR book somewhere in there. But
Maybe.
yeah, guys, honestly, I can't think of one. So I think that's a great option because I don't have an opinion on this. To put haven't read, but sounds fine.
Yeah, it sounds fine. It sounds
Honestly,
like you're
if I
getting
did
that
read
same
it, I
like
would be icked out by it.
yeah. Yeah, well, because you have a brother.
Yeah,
I mean, I do too, but he's younger, so it's different. Like, but like,
I'm trying to think like,
oh, it's best friend's brother. It's not brother. Yeah, it's
yeah.
the other way. You know what? I wanted a best friend romance as a kid. I wanted to have crush on my friends' brothers, but my one friend, her brother ended up dating my sister. And the other one was just like weird and like it just never worked for me. But in my heart, in my like Wattpad AO3 girly heart, I was gonna get it one day. And Jacob was a family friend of my best friend, so that's as close as I can get.
I have two older brothers, so I feel like all my friends always had crushes on my brothers. And like
Yeah.
a lot of my friends even dated my brother. And so I was in this trope, but in the very middle way. And I loved the movie Bring It
But
On
not in the sexy
growing up.
part.
and she falls in love with her best friend's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that for like rom-coms. I don't know if I want it in my literature.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways.
All right. Next up, we have the redemption arc. You know, when your bad villain character in book 1 becomes a trusted ally of sorts by the time book 5 rolls around.
I wouldn't say like I eat that shit up. I like a good redemption arc. There's a certain character.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's a certain character I can think of that I really want them to have a redemption arc because I think it's possible. And like that's something I want. So with that being said, I feel like that's a trope that I'm cool with. But I'm gonna be honest, this is a big trope. I don't know if I have a very strong opinion on this.
Yeah. I think the issue is that a lot of the times when this happens, it's with that like lukewarm character.
Yeah,
It's
it's
with
never
that
the really evil one
that you think is like kind of bad or maybe on a little bit of the bad side, and then they come a little bit on the good side. Like if this is our axis, right? The character's here and then moves here, and I want someone from here to move to here.
Yeah, it's like Draco Malfoy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Don't give me Draco. Give me Voldemort. There's no. I guess it wouldn't be a story then, but. So with that being said, I feel pretty neutral about the situation. If anything, I do like a good redemption arc. I like the bad to become good.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect place. I like the idea of this trope, but I don't know if I see it enough in books to put it any higher.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Next up, we have the trope that is in every single fantasy book, and that is the chosen one.
Can you have a fantasy book without the chosen one?
No.
No. For real.
You know what? Hard stance. You need the fucking chosen one because who wants to read the story about what happens to Joe Smo? No, I want my character to be the main character. I want them to be chosen one. I want to be the chosen one. So why shouldn't the character that I'm injecting my personality on, I want them to be the chosen one.
This is our self-insert character, okay? Yes. And also, I've read the like side character books, and I fucking hate them. So you need to inject the chosen one into your veins as a fantasy reader. You know what I mean?
You freaking need this. All right. Next up, we have fake dating. Now, listen, I have read so much fake dating back in the day. We don't almost ever really see it in fantasy, but I love this one because not only is it forced proximity, but they're forced to touch each other and then act like they don't actually want to.
This is 5 stars for sure for me.
Yeah. Emily Henry does this. Like, this is what Happy Place had a lot of that in it.
Next,
we have Grumpy Sunshine.
Grumpy Sunshine. I have read a decent amount of this. All Allie Hazelwood books have Grumpy Sunshines in them.
Yeah.
So having the love hypothesis here is great. I would say eat that shit up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, personally. I think it's cute. The best is Jess and Nick from New Girl.
Oh, yes.
She is like, you're not going to fucking take this toy from me. I'm going to have it. So it's like, I don't know who the
right up there.
You are. Amazing. Okay. Next up, knife to the throat. How are we feeling? This is obviously got to be enemies to lovers. Does it do anything for you?
No.
I think that Lauren Roberts has made me hate this trope.
I think that's what I'm thinking about.
Yes, because literally, okay, in the enemies to lovers art of Carden and Jude, she's literally doing knife to the throat. It was hot when Jude did it, but Peyton pissed me the fuck off because that girl thought she was the shit with her little dagger was always putting it up against Kai's throat. And what was she going to do? Homegirl was never once going to, like, she wouldn't cut his hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I think it's over. I think maybe not for me.
Yeah, it's not for me. Like, I think there's other ways to express angst. Like,
yeah, I think it just
a little
got
like
ruined.
pushed up. You know, like when you push someone like, against like a door frame.
Yeah, that's hot. Next up, we have the amnesia plot.
Amnesia, icky.
Icky. Okay.
What's up? 5 Seconds of Summer song.
What?
You know the 5 Seconds of Summer song, Amnesia?
No. But maybe if I heard it. I was like, huh? I think so. The Vampire Diaries did this, and there's something beautiful in the idea of like, you forget someone and then you fall in love with them over again.
It's like, I get stressed the fuck out about this. I would say haven't read enough, but sounds fine or not for me.
Okay. We can put it. I would say haven't read because I haven't read a lot of it.
Yeah, let's do that because the next one I feel very strongly.
Okay, yes. Miscommunication. And I did put Violet and Xaden as the cover for this because those bitches are like the epitome of miscommunication.
My favorite couple.
Yeah.
Hate them. Hey, guess what? You're my favorite. I fucking hate you. Miscommunication to me is so icky because it feels lazy.
Yes. Yes. That's all. Enough said. Period. I hate everyone but you.
Love this because I want this in my real life. I want
your partner to just hate everyone.
I want people close to me to hate everyone but me.
Sorry, love. I can't take you to dinner. You can't meet my friends, my family, because you're an asshole, but you're so sweet to me.
Yes. I would say eat that shit right up.
Okay.
I do like a gentleman though, but I like a stern gentleman.
Yeah.
This kind of goes with like the grumpy sunshine. Like I feel like our grumpy sunshine is always like, I hate everyone. And then to like you, they're like really sweet.
Yes. I agree with that sentiment. I think that sometimes it's like, okay, well, he's just an asshole. I'm going to bump her down to neutral, but
that's fine.
I hear what you're saying. All right. Next up, we have the love triangle. Haters hate her.
I do not like love triangles.
Ever?
I've never read a love triangle other than the Clockwork series. But even then, it was stressing me. Like, I don't want to stress while reading. And it stresses me out because I'm like, does everyone feel loved? Does everyone feel safe? Like, if I was more of a bitch who, like, did not care, like, I cannot
trying to people please your way through it.
Yeah, I can't like please two people at once. I mean, I guess you could, but
we can try.
I feel like I'd be giving one more effort than the other.
Yeah.
So depending on how you feel.
Okay.
I would say I will go neutral on this.
Okay.
Unless you are very gung ho. If I was doing this list by myself, it would be a not for me.
Actually, you know what?
I see you have Twilight there. Like, it stressed me out when I was watching Twilight as a kid too. Like,
here's the thing.
I was like, Jacob's.
Twilight is the epitome of honestly a bad love triangle because when Stephanie Meyer was writing Twilight, she wanted to go straight from book 1 to book 4. She wanted to go straight to Breaking Dawn, and her publisher said, hold it up, girl. We're going to milk the fuck out of this series. You need to give us 4 books. And she sat down and she was like, okay, well, what would happen during her junior year? What would happen during her senior year? And she just created this plot out of her ass of the love triangle. Jacob is named after her brother. And Bella is the epitome of a self-insert character. Like, never once did Stephanie Meyer even consider making Jacob actually endgame. And that's what I don't like is when love triangles, it's so obvious that it's going to be one person that it takes the fun out of the love triangle. So I can do not for me because I think that's where it sits, especially in these YA spaces, 90% of the time.
Yeah, you always know who's gonna end up. There's never a true love triangle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next one.
Second chance romance. I haven't read many of these. Happy
I
Place
haven't read
was
enough to have an
that.
opinion, but I have to say probably not. Probably not, girl.
Yeah.
But I'll say I haven't read, but
Okay.
sounds fine because I can't.
Well, you love
I don't
Happy
have
Place, so that's your favorite Emily Henry.
I know, but they had a fake date. So it was like,
but it's because of this other thing, actually. What I like about Second Chance is that it lets the characters have a lot of backstory and connection. So that way, if the plot happens over a week or something like that, there is a foundation there.
Yeah, if anyone's ever read the book One True Loves by TJR, that's kind of like Second Chance. Which is it? Yeah. You know what? I'll go neutral on this.
Okay. I just bumped you up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There's only.
Sorry, I got excited about the next one.
There's only one bed.
Inject into my veins. There's nothing better.
Get that bitch up there.
There's nothing better. I read a book recently, and I forget which one. It was a fantasy book recently, and they go somewhere, and it was a setup for there's only one bed.
Yeah.
And then there was two beds. There was two beds. Or no, he slept on the ground. And he actually did just sleep on the ground.
What the fuck are you doing on the ground?
What the fuck are you doing on the ground? Get your ass up here.
Get your ass up there. Yes.
Love.
You know what? I don't think it's ever cheesy. I don't think it can ever be overdone. Like, unless it happens multiple times.
Authors will make fun of themselves.
Yeah. I think every book should have at least one. There's only one bed scene.
Yeah, it's fun. It's so much fun. I love it.
All right. Next up, we have the villain arc. Okay. This
love.
Is the descent of your character.
Oh.
I'm obsessed. Wait, how do you feel?
I was thinking like villain arc, like we fall in love with the main character. Turns out they were like had alternative motives, and I kind of like that's kind of
you
fun.
like the morally gray love interest. That's coming later.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
I'm talking about when our I'm talking about when our main character, or like one of the main characters, starts off, you think they're a good guy, and then they like are very clearly become the villain. So this is your like Paul Atreides. This is your Arita of Galland, who I put the thing of. I know you didn't read that book, but that's fine.
I would say I eat that shit up.
Okay.
I love a good plot twist. You know what I mean? Like that offers a plot twist that you're just like, oh, like no, like I'm not happy this is happening, but this makes this book more than like an enemies to lovers. You know what I mean? Yeah. Add some more plot.
I would probably put it at inject into my veins. So do you want to split the difference?
Wait, really? Let's do 5 stars for sure then.
I love it so much. Like Arita of Galland is, I never shut up the fuck up about that bitch. She's the one from the Realmbreaker books.
Okay, yes. I think I'd probably have the same opinion as you if I read those.
Yeah. I just, that saying where it's like, I support women's rights and women's wrongs. Yeah, she is like absolutely the epitome of that series. Like this series, I won't give a spoiler for how it ended, but like the whole time, I'm just like, I know you're the villain, but I'm cheering you on.
Yeah. That's crazy.
All right.
Okay. Next.
Accidental pregnancy. This is one that the Book Talk girlies hate. This is one I have never read.
Okay. Accidental pregnancy? Mm-hmm. What, you mean like, well, we've read a lot of the books we read, they do end up pregnant by the end.
No, it's like the characters sleep together and they don't want a baby, like they're not planning for a baby, and then they get pregnant. So it happens in a lot of like contemporary romances, and it like forces
I would hate that
together.
Probably. I would say haven't read, but sounds fine.
Yeah. I honestly
I just haven't read it.
Or like icky, like yeah, but like because the concept of the trope isn't just that like Katniss is pregnant by the end of the series. It's that the characters like have a one night stand or sleep together, and then a lot of the times they break up, and then she finds out she's pregnant.
Like, why bring a child into this?
We don't need the child into this. Yeah,
I can see why people would hate it. I just haven't read any, so I don't have an opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have bully romance. Now,
fuck that. No, we're not in high school. Okay, I'm okay with like
the grumpy sunshine of it all.
Yeah. But honestly, nothing gives off high school more than the Zodiac Academy. And I'm so sorry if you loved it, but that writing, everything, yeah, we're going to go icky. And then let's move into some rapid fire for some of these bitches. Okay, next up we have cheating. No.
Icky. Absolutely
Icky.
not. Not my story.
Hero loses their powers. Fuck no. I hate this trope. This is the worst trope imaginable, and it always happens discriminately against women. Women are always like, I have to give up my power. I got too greedy. No, you didn't. You're perfect, and you should be the most powerful person on the planet. Insta-love.
I love Anna, but that guy sucked in Frozen. Not for me. I love Love at First Sight. It's just this insta-love can be really toxic.
Yeah, you got to be able to keep the tension. And I think that that's what many fail at. Age gap.
Inject into my veins. Dude, I love Scandal. I fucking love Scandal.
Yes.
I would say let's do 5 stars for sure.
Okay. Have you seen, everyone is so pissed because Allie Hazelwood's new book that's coming out this summer is going to be an age gap romance, and people are trying to cancel her for it?
It's only weird.
Why can't we have fun?
It's only weird if the older party has like predatory motives. But like if they're both adults.
Yes. As long as we're not dealing with minors.
Well, teacher and student is the next one.
We're on to that now. I think, listen.
I love that shit.
Teacher and student, stop it. I understand that Arya and Ezra are a cancelable offense nowadays. I get that it's bad and you shouldn't do it, but it's hot. You can't deny me that it's hot and that as a kid, I was fucking rooting for Arya and Ezra.
I was rooting for Arya and Ezra so fucking hard. Like, dude, I was like, dude, just let them be together. It's
just
fine.
let them fuck. Like, and the mom's so mad, and she plays Piper in Charmed, and I was like, why have you fallen so far?
Like, that's a mighty of fun. Do you want to do like Eat That Shit Up?
Yeah, Ate That Shit Up. And I think teacher and students, I believe that it should be college, but like we can all pretend that the Pretty Little Liar girls were
18.
already in college. Like they were doing so much shit. The teacher, student, whatever. Okay. Yeah. Next up, an unhappy ending. This is like when the characters don't get together at the end.
I would say I've read some really impactful stories. I would say I'm pretty neutral about this. I don't really have any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember as a kid, I think it's Dear John, maybe. I don't know. It's one of the Nicholas Sparks books and they don't end up together. And I was fuming as a kid because obviously I'm not a kid who like understands marketing. I didn't read the back of the book. I didn't like get what was going on. And I was like, romances get a HEA. You know what I mean? Like that's just a part of the book. And I was so upset. But I think as long as you understand what you're going into, I think
there's a reason for it. Yeah.
Okay. Forbidden Love.
5 stars for sure.
Yeah. I think there's no way to... There is way to do it wrong. But I think that this is just another one of those things that just gives you that tension. All right. Next up. Now, Peyton, we are at the morally gray love interest.
Morally gray is the best trope. Yeah, I mean, morally gray for me, I mean, if we're putting the chosen one into, you know, that's our girl character. We have to have the morally gray character, you know, to even it out. So it's only fair we put it up there.
Have balance in our life. I agree. I think, you know, sometimes the romantasy genre has begun to do it, but overall, it slaps. It slaps. Okay. Unlikable characters. This is where I feel like we might split.
Okay, so I like unlikable characters because it gives me something to like. They actually, unlikable characters, I feel a lot of time add a lot of comedy, like relief into books. Where you're like, oh, here's this. They're not the villain of the book.
Yeah.
They're just that like
the
annoying
main character is unlikable.
Oh, if the main character is unlikable?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, because have you seen our comments after posting anything about Nesta? Like, literally, you know what I mean?
And I will repeat for anyone who needs to hear it. Nesta is that bitch. And if you don't like her but praise the ground that Rhysand walks on, you're the problem.
Yes. And as someone who loves Rhys, You are the problem.
Where do you want to put her? Because I would put it like at the top, but I love a bitchy FMC.
I would say 5 stars for sure. Like
okay, perfect.
I love it. Yep.
Yes. This one I think does belong to inject into my veins.
Yeah.
I mean, also, let's be clear again. This isn't a trope. I don't know. This is what everyone else had on their fucking list. I'm not an idiot. I needed 50 things, and I fucking love a dragon.
Dude, you put some dragons with some cute little scales, and if they can talk with their little people, like, come on.
Love it.
Fuck yeah. I love dragons. Like, I fucking love dragons.
Inject into my veins. There's nothing bad about dragons ever. And there's so many different ways to do it. Okay. Next up, we have fated mates or soulmates, but I think a lot of the times in romantasy, we're getting that like we're fated or we're mates type situation.
I like now because I've read a lot of like mate things. Mm-hmm. I love when it's not the premise of the story, but it's something that wildly just gets thrown in. And we're reading a book series, Fourth Wing, right now that like we're getting geared up for possibly this like big overarching thing. And I love in books when they make it seem that like, you know, that they're not supposed to be mates, but then they end up, you know what I mean? So I would say I would eat that shit right up.
Okay. I feel like I exist in like not for me because I feel like often when it's done cheap and it's done in the way of like, we already said we love each other and now we're mates, or like mates is really rare and now of course we're mates. And like
I don't love how everyone gets it. I like it to be exclusive.
Yeah, I just think there's other way to do. I really love when authors have fun and unique like courting world building. Like in the From Blood and Ash series, when 2 of the characters get married, there's like a gold like thread that ties them. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
And better than like, and they're like blessed by the gods, their union.
Then we're just mates.
That's more fun than just being like, yep, we're mates. Like, I think it's just, like Sarah J. Maas drove that shit underwater. But
yeah. I would go neutral for this.
Yeah.
I'm not super like stuck on it.
Okay. Next up, we have the betrayal from the bestie.
How do you feel about this?
I like when books make me feel, and if it does it in a way that I feel betrayed with the character, with the main character.
Yeah, I don't want to see it coming.
I think I eat that shit up. I do feel like, honestly, like thinking about, I can't list names of books because that's too big of a spoiler, but there is a book series where there is a betrayal of a bestie love interest type character, and it hurts. And like it made middle school me throw the book into the wall kind of thing. And I think it can be injected into my veins. I think most of the time it does sit at like neutral though, because I feel like a lot of the times you're like, yeah, okay. Like, oh, that character that felt a little sus from the beginning did something sus? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Overthrow the government.
Yeah, the next one is overthrow the government.
How you feel?
I don't give a fuck.
It's the plot. It's the plot of every book we read.
I know. I don't know. I don't care. I would say I'm trying to change the justice system, the way things work for the betterment of society. I would say we love a save the world mission. I would say let's eat that shit up. It makes a good story. We're thinking plot here. I have to move out of my love mind into my like plot mind.
Yeah, like in the plot, I think it always slays. I think there's always a moment where like the girl's like, and now you're done for, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like she gets like a really dramatic line as they like go through this big battle. So I think it works. I've never been like, oh, they shouldn't have overthrown the government here.
Yeah, like, oh, you shouldn't have overthrown.
Like, I don't think you should have overthrown the government.
That's funny.
Immortal versus mortal. I don't know if you've read a ton of these.
Okay, are we talking about like one love interest is mortal, the other one's immortal?
Yeah, so like lifespan differences. Like one person's like a fucking human and the other person's like never gonna die.
Love.
And live forever.
I love.
I
would
agree.
say eat it up or 5 stars for sure, because there is something so sexy about them getting to know each other, and like usually one has to protect the other, or I don't know. I really like it.
I agree. I think the best example of this, and what I did as the title card, is Alec and Magnus Bane from the Shadowhunter series. And I have the fattest crush on Magnus Bane. And I know he's like an old man at this point, but like
he's awesome.
So obsessed. And I think it's juicy. I think it's always juicy because they fall in love and they're like, it doesn't matter. But then the human person's like, I'm going to get old. Or you're never going to age. And there's always like, do we try to find a magical solution to fix this? I think it always serves the plot. Okay.
Absolutely.
Next up, we have tending to wounds. Oh, you're hurting? Let me patch that up for you.
There's something very sweet about this. I would say in that moment, I probably eat it up. Being like that caretaker, like we love to be taken care of. I'd say that.
You're close, you're touching, you're looking into each other's eyes after she winces. I feel like I'm really letting like my Wattpad feral middle school child out today.
Novel.
All right, next up we have Unrequited Love. This is like Penelope Featherington to her soul. How do you feel?
I feel pretty neutral about this, to be completely honest.
Okay. Yeah. I think it works, but like obviously the point of Unrequited Love is that it's always going to turn into requited love. You know what I mean?
It's just like that. Speaking of the next one, it's like a fairy tale. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's that pining. Okay, how do we feel about fairy tale retellings?
Well, if anyone likes ACOTAR, you have to like this because it's basically retelling. I would say, once again, I'm pretty neutral on this. They can go either way.
Yeah.
It can be really great, or it can be like, oh, this is really cheesy.
I'm going to bump it up to ate that shit right up, because I feel like when you have that guidepost, it kind of like lets you know where the story's going. And I love like piecing it together. And
also, if you are
like,
a new reader, that's a really great way to kind of get back into reading, is fairy tale retelling.
Next up, we have the main character dies in the end. I've read a few of these.
My favorite book growing up, the main character dies in the end, and it ruined me for life. Let's just, we haven't read a lot of them, so let's put that there.
Yeah. I did recently read one, and it like made the series like 6 stars. But I also like Song of Achilles. Like, I don't know. Hit or miss. Okay, bad guy turned ally. This is very similar to one that we did before.
I would say I'm pretty neutral about this.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
It's fine. Rivals to lovers. So this is our enemies to lovers, but like for the contemporary fiction girlies.
Yeah. I mean, we know this isn't for me.
Yeah. I think
but I haven't read enough. I feel so juvenile. I want something more powerful. That's all. So I'm going to leave this one up to you.
We'll put it not for me, because we don't have a lot of those, and I think you feel more strongly anti than I feel strongly like neutral.
Yeah, guys, let's be clear. I don't hate that. I just don't love it, you know?
Yeah. Quirky girl ex bad boy.
No.
No, listen, the only exception, like I think it can be done really right, and that's like better than the movies, but I think most of the time it's just not it. It's just not for us. Slow burn.
Inject into my veins.
Yes, this is how I want every like other romance beneath this. It has to also come with the caveat of a slow burn, and I think
take
that's
5 books. I don't care.
Yeah, Romantasy is failing at that because they aren't letting it simmer enough. Mutual pining.
5 stars as long as they don't both know they're pining after each other.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
Undisclosed mutual pining.
Undisclosed mutual pining. Oh my God, I'm reading, not reading, I'm watching Abbott Elementary, and that's a mutual pining.
Okay.
It's shot like The Office, and you can just, every time the love interest is looking at her, the camera just zooms in, and he'll be like lovingly looking at her, and then look at the camera and like look down, and like,
yeah, like I love that.
Embarrassed.
Love that.
Okay, boarding school. I think this sometimes usually slays.
I would say eat that shit right up, because I'm thinking Fourth Wing, of course, Harry Potter, like all that.
Yeah, it forces everyone to be together and the plot to be like very succinct. It usually has like a dark academia or like very hard leaning into an aesthetic. Finally, our 50th book trope. We have, if I can read it, friends to lovers. Are we going to be split on this one? Yeah. Like I can see it in you. Okay, I'll go first. I love friends to lovers, and I would give it a tier above inject into my veins simply because of Percy and Annabeth, and that's not fair.
No, it's not. But I will compromise because I don't feel too strongly about this. I don't love friends to lovers. I'll do eat that shit right up though.
Okay.
Because if it's done right, I could really be sat for that.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't see it very
sorry,
often.
Aubrey.
No, I think that's fair. I feel like authors like sometimes shy away from it.
Yeah, it's hard to write in like a very like strong, powerful way.
I agree.
Without it being like, oh, we've known each other since we were 5. Why haven't we fucked already? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it fits really well for like YA, where they're not necessarily fucking on page. So
yeah, I agree. All right, that is all 50 book tropes. I think this chart looks fine. We're very heavy in that eat the shit up and neutral, but like, what is that called? Like when the curve like goes up and then down again. It's like what they want to see for test scores. Whatever that is, we've hit it.
Yeah, I used to the preobal. Well, I failed math, so there's that. If you guys liked everyone likes tier ranking videos. We love doing them. So if you want to see more, let us know down below. So subscribe, comment. What's your favorite trope? Do you feel like absolutely disgustingly different from us? I would love to know. And Aubrey and I didn't argue too much on these, so we're pretty aligned. Hence why we have this book podcast. Yes, like, subscribe. We are growing so much, and we love having you guys along for the ride.
Thank you all so much for joining us, and happy reading.